often go to Lamorna. There's something quite dynamic about the quay. Certainly in the winter it's very quiet and has a sense of isolation which you don't have in the summer. You've got quite a mixture of the quayside and the surrounding cliffs. You've got a beach and you've got that remarkable piece of headland across from the quayside, and there's a sort of dinosaur-shaped piece of land which I like. Well, I used to find myself going to the same places over and over again. It's funny, Lamorna is one of those places I used to go to a lot, and have recently started going again. It has actually changed quite a lot. Yeah, I seem to be doing a lot of trips recently, and the starting point for all that, a few years ago, somebody who owned a cycling shop, wanting a painting obviously for a while, and suggested that we do a swap, and he offered me a really top-notch road bike for a painting. And I've always done a bit of cycling, and I thought I could conjoin this with work really. I could find some way of cycling and working. So I thought, well, what about the John O'Groats to Land's End? I thought, well, that's a bit boring really. What about Cape to Cape? So I did a cycle trip from Cape Wrath in the north of Scotland down to Cape Cornwall. That was such amazing fun that I decided to do a trip every year. The intention is to do a trip every year using a different mode of transport. So the first year was cycling, second year was canoeing, but the canoeing seems to be holding on because it takes you to places you wouldn't otherwise get at all. So I've had 2 years of canoeing now, but I would like to do a narrow boat down the River Thames. So I think that would be cool. The good thing about visiting the same place over and over again, you look at a piece of water, you know that when the tide's right out, there's a big trough in that piece. There are rocks very close to the surface in another piece. There are some sort of hidden depths there. I usually paint 3 or 4 of the same view so that once back in the studio I can make a choice. Of course the tide's coming in and going out and the sun's going around, so obviously they're sometimes quite different. The thing is, if anybody was to be particularly pedantic about the shape of particular bits of rock or the closeness to the real landscape, you'd be completely lost there, because as you can see it changes as the process goes through. The real nature of things is not really that material, it's how it's regarded. And I mean, a lot of things you take out and you put in a lot of stuff that you would prefer to see. The reason I've started using watercolour as a starting medium is because of the trips I've made recently. Watercolour is a bit fussy for me, and I don't use it as a traditional watercolourist would use it. I use it because I can fit a watercolour pad in a bag or into the canoe, and I can travel around and get quite a few sketches thrown in and get it back to the studio. There you go. If I go on holiday, for instance, I usually take sketch pads with me and find myself, I can't sit next to a pool and do nothing. So if there's other people around me, I'll draw. I've got masses of sketchbooks of people on beaches and on mountains, and I've done drawings of my feet, of the Trangia stove when I've been camping, anything really. I suppose it's a failing. I really can't relax. I find it almost impossible to relax unless I'm painting. So I've done the drawing, put the first wash on. I just put blue on because it tends to wash through other colours anyway, and it gets rid of all that white paper, which is a pain. Clean the palette, start putting some colour on. seem to paint mostly landscape at the moment, but I used to paint a lot of portraits. When I was younger, I spent some time in the south of France. Each village has a market day, and there are different days of the week. And you can go around from one day to the next going to a different market, and I'll do portraits, and I do that sometimes on campsites, go to a campsite. And anybody that comes across that wants a portrait drawing, I'll just do a little sketch. It's quite good fun. I much prefer the large brushes because you can go from making tiny to really big, broad strokes. I suppose one is constantly aware the sun's coming from, and that's how you arrange your day when you're painting. Le Morne really only works in the morning because in the afternoon the sun's gone behind the hill, but also the best direction across the rocks and the way the light plays across the rocks in this fashion only really happens in the morning. So careful planning is absolutely essential. Of course, not only is there the light, but also on the coast there's the tide. And when you go there and the tide is really low, there's almost no play of the surf across the water. If you go at slack water, everything is really calm and extremely boring. So you either have got to use a conjunction of drawings and paintings which you've done in the past to work with the new stuff that you've got, or be very precise with the timing of the painting. I've always worked towards shows. I've always had themed shows. I've got various things coming up, all of which have either their roads or journeys of some sort or of a particular place. It's nice every now and again just find somewhere that you want to paint and you just kind of sit there and paint. You've no idea where the paintings are going to go, but something will crop up, and that's usually the case with Le Morne.